Hey guys, I just thought I'd do a review on a game I just finished a couple days ago, and that game is Grandia for the PS1. Now this is a game I've been wanting to play for, oh, God, a long time. It's a series I've wanted to get into for a long time too. Obviously this game was a part of my backlog, so this is the first game that I've completed for the backlog challenge, and I was not expecting this game to be as long as it is. It took me 45 hours to beat, which I don't know, I never had looked up on this game, so I didn't know that this game was that long. Like, it's a pretty long game, and that's, I'll talk about that later, I guess. Anyways, I guess to get into the game, Grandia, this is a very lighthearted RPG. Now, usually I'm into the more dark RPGs. You know, Xenogears is a perfect example. I really love that game. I love how dark it is, but a game like Grandia is perfect. You know, it's a perfect, refreshing game that I really needed. I've been playing some really, like, dark games, so to play something like this that's so lighthearted and so charming, it was really a breath of fresh air, and I think that's one of the main reasons why people seem to really love this game. I'll say, overall, I really enjoy this game. I think it's fantastic. You know, and when I think about it, there's not too many flaws with it. I'll talk about that later. It's one of those games that I was trying to think of, like, you know, complaints I had with it, or things I didn't like about it, and I found it very hard to pick things. I will say, though, that this game, pacing-wise, it can maybe drag a bit. I found myself kind of getting bored at certain parts of the game. I don't know, maybe I was just getting kind of burnt out on it a while, because this is basically the only game I've been playing. So anyways, the game, basically, you're basically a kid in this game. I don't know how old he is. The main character is named Justin. And he's like, I want to say he's probably like 15 or something. And you kind of, the whole game is about going on an adventure. Like, Justin is, like, his dad was an adventurer, and he lives with his mom in this small town, and he wants to be an adventurer. That's all he cares about. That's all he likes to do. And basically with your, I think she's your cousin, I think, a character named Sue. She's a bit younger than Justin. You basically go on this adventure after, like, a brief, like, okay, the opening of this game, I will say, the opening of this game's pretty slow. Obviously, a lot of it is, you know, character development, which I'll get to that later, because this game has amazing character development. But basically, you go on this adventure, you find other characters along the way. You meet this character named Fina, and that kind of is the main relationship in the game, which I liked the relationship between Fina and Justin. I thought it was really well done. So basically what starts as kind of just a charming, happy adventure eventually does turn a bit darker. There's this kind of empire, like the Garlisle forces, and they're kind of mysterious. And the story involves, like, spirits and things like that, and kind of uncovering an ancient civilization. Ultimately, though, what it all leads to is a typical save-the-world kind of storyline, which, it's typical JRPG territory, but, and I will say, the storyline itself is not all that interesting. Even towards the end, it didn't really, it's predictable. The twists are fairly predictable, but what makes this game great in terms of the story, and basically, even though the story is not that great in my opinion, what makes this game fun, really, is the characters. The characters are amazing in this game. You know, a fantastic character development. You know, the characters grow. You're not aging throughout this game, but, you know, Justin starts out kind of, like, really sure of himself. He's very hyperactive, and he thinks he can do anything. But later in the game, you know, things start to happen to him, and he kind of changes. But yeah, the characters are all great. There's mainly, like, characters will join you and leave you throughout the game, which normally I'm not into that, but I didn't mind it so much in this game. When I get into the gameplay, I'll tell you why I didn't mind it so much in this game, and I wish more games were like this in that aspect. So overall, the story, it's okay, it's decent. I'm not going to say it's bad, but the characters are amazing, and that's what's going to drive you through this game. The characters are what keep you invested in this game, and, you know, they're just really charming, fun characters. Now, the visuals. This game, it's got like the Xenogears style graphics where it's like 3D environments with sprites roaming around these 3D environments. You can press the L and R button to kind of rotate the camera 360 degrees or all the way around. It doesn't look quite as sharp as Xenogears, but the environments are very varied, really colorful. You're never in the same kind of location twice. The visuals are nice. They're not, they're a bit dated, sure. I think if you find it hard to go back to these kind of PS1 RPGs, this is definitely dated in the visuals department. But I thought everything looked fine, really. Now, the audio. There is voice acting in this game. Now, the voice acting, it's pretty bad. It's some of it can be funny in like how bad it is. Now, thankfully, there's not too much of it. The thing with the voice acting is, ordinarily I'm okay with bad voice acting, but there's a lot of scenes in this game that go for an emotional impact, but because of the voice acting, they fall flat. And it comes across as kind of, I don't know, it's not so great, the voice acting in this game, but there's not too much of it. The music, on the other hand, is quite good. I found the songs in the beginning half of the game were, I don't know, I found them more memorable than the later half of the game. I found the songs just kind of degraded in quality the further you progress through the game. Because right in the beginning, I was loving the music. It's really catchy, upbeat. A lot of the songs are really catchy and upbeat. But later in the game, you get these songs that are like, there's not much instruments going on. A lot of it is just like maybe drums and bass and things like that. Like a lot of the jungle songs are like that. And I don't know, I found them to be pretty repetitive and got on my nerves after a while. But overall, the music is definitely good. I know a lot of people think the music in this game is amazing. I don't know. I don't think it's not quite amazing in my opinion, but definitely good and fits the game quite well. Okay, so now the big part of the game, the gameplay. Grandia has a turn-based battle system, but it's unlike any I've played before. Okay, well, there's no random encounters in this game, so that's immediately a plus. You can see the enemies on the map and fight them when you want. Obviously, there are some enemies that I found were pretty much impossible to avoid. It's got the typical thing where if you run into the enemy without them seeing you, you get an initiative and you can get extra attacks in, but if the enemies get you first, they can get extra attacks in. So the battle system, it's this turn-based battle system. You get your kind of radial menu. You can choose standard attacks, or a combo attack, which is basically 2 attacks in a row. You can get items to bring it up to 3, which are very useful items, I found. There's a critical, which basically stops enemies' attacks. Sometimes enemies will be like shining, like this dust will be floating around them. If you use a critical, you can stop their attacks. And then you have your magic, and then of course your typical escape and whatnot. But the thing with this game, it's typical turn-based, but you've got an action bar at the bottom, and your magic and different combos have different speeds. So you have your character portrait on this this action meter, and you'll be able to see it. I'm going to put footage in this video, there, or right there. So you can see the character portraits kind of going from left to right, and that determines kind of the order that enemies and your characters will attack. So you got to be always looking at this meter and looking at what enemies are going to be attacking first, and how quick your attacks are going to be, and what character is coming up next in line. It can be a pretty tactical battle system. Now, the only problem with it is the fact that this game is very easy. Honestly, probably one of the easiest RPGs I've played. In fact, I'd say this is a perfect RPG for someone wanting to get into them. If you want to get into a JRPG, you've never played them before, and you're trying to get into them, this game is perfect, because there's one boss really early in the game that I died like 5 times at, and I don't know why. It was just this random difficulty spike really early in the game. But after that, the rest of the game was ridiculously easy. Like, other than those 5 deaths in this, there's a squid boss. I don't know if anyone's played this game. Let me know if you died at the squid boss. I don't know. I found him really overpowered, and I didn't really have enough moves. I had to end up spamming my healing items to beat him. But After that, I never died throughout the entire game. And what makes this game so easy is the magic system, but it also makes the game quite a lot of fun. The magic system in Grandia is very unique. Basically, the more you use your spells, whether it be fire spells, ice spells, water spells, or earth spells, the stronger they get. You'll learn new moves the more you use them. Now, to get characters to learn different types of magic, because there is the 4 elements, you got to get these items called mana eggs. And you kind of go to a shop in town and sell the mana egg, and you can give a character a certain type of magic. And later on, after you've gotten like really powerful fire magics or ice magics, if you have a character with really powerful fire magic and ice magic, eventually they can get a combination of the two. And there's all these different magic powers, and you can learn them at different levels. And there's also combinations of magic with weapons. There's different weapon types that characters can equip. And you can level up your weapons too. The higher level, obviously, the stronger your weapons are. So Justin might have an attack where you have to get a sword, your sword power, to level 10, and your fire to level 10, and you'll get an attack out of that. And there's all these combinations with different weapons and different magic, and it's really fun and experimental trying to get all these moves. It keeps the battle system fresh. You're never doing the same moves all over and over again. And for people that don't use magic too much in RPGs, this game will pretty much force you to use different magics, because you can get some really badass magic in this game. Justin's final ability is ridiculously overpowered, but it's so awesome when you finally do unlock that. So the magic system gives the battle system some much needed extra variety. You're always trying different moves, and the battle system, each battle is different from the last, so the battle system is definitely one of the high points of this game. It definitely kept me engaged the entire time. Now, in terms of gameplay other than the battle system, it's, you know, your typical RPG, going from town to town, dungeon to dungeon. Now, this game does not have a world map. Like, initially when I was playing the game, I was like, I don't know, I want a kind of world map. It's basically got, like, there is a world map, but you're basically just selecting locations from a menu, pretty much. And I thought maybe I'd miss the game having, like, I thought it would maybe need a world map, but it really doesn't. And this game, one of the best things about it is it really does feel like you're on this massive adventure with how long it is and how varied the environments are. Now, let's talk about the environments. This game, the environments are very hit and miss. A lot of areas that you go through, you know, the majority of the dungeons are fine, but it's mainly like the environments, such as the jungles and the deserts and the ice kind of mountains. They're designed in a really, it's hard to describe, but it's kind of like a haphazard way. Like, there's all these, like, random objects, like whether it be trees or mushrooms or, like, random hills and just objects in the environments that are just kind of plastered around the place with no rhyme or reason, and it kind of makes the environments kind of irritating to go through. Now, there's a compass system that generally will kind of guide you which way to go, but I found myself kind of losing my bearings quite often in this game. You know, with the constant rotating of the camera you have to do, and just the way a lot of the environments are designed. And that's, you know, that's a very minor complaint. You know, at the end of the day, it wasn't too bad. But I also found a lot of enemies were unavoidable due to this, because they'd be like, you know, all these different types of objects and enemies would, like, kind of block your path and stuff like that. And it kind of made searching for items kind of annoying. But that's a very minor thing. And the dungeons themselves are well designed. There's the puzzles. There's not much of them, and what puzzles there are pretty simple. But honestly, I'd take that over ridiculously obtuse and tedious puzzles any day. So the dungeons I thought were fine. Maybe a bit bland, other than a couple. There's one dungeon, like, midway through the game that's really, really cool, I thought. So basically you go to towns, typical RPG stuff, you buy equipment for your characters, you can use a stash that you can use. Now, each character has their own, like, inventory, and I found this caused some problems throughout the game. Each character can't really hold a whole lot, and I found myself doing a lot of inventory management, you know, swapping items between different characters, constantly putting stuff in the stash. And also, the way they've set up the shops is really kind of annoying in terms of selling items and buying them, because You know, if you want to buy like a sword to equip to Justin, right, and his inventory is full, you can't buy the weapon. You gotta go into his inventory, you know, either sell some of his stuff or give it to another character. But if all of their inventories are full, then you gotta put stuff in your stash, then you gotta bring it back out. Like, it's a very long process every time you want to equip your characters with new weapons and such, and I don't know, it was kind of annoying. Now, I mentioned earlier that characters join you and leave you at different times. Now, and obviously these characters will have different items. Now, when they do leave you for good, all the items they had were sent to the stash. And if you spent a lot of time leveling up their weapons and their skills, they give you these items that will transfer all of well, not all the skills, but their levels in the weapons and magic, and you can use those items on your other characters. So if you got one of these characters to like sword level 20, you can get an item in the stash that will basically up one of your other characters' sword levels up a few. Which that's a really, really creative design decision that basically makes it so that you're not annoyed whenever a character leaves you and you spent all this time leveling them up and buying them equipment and whatever. More games need to do this. It's a very smart design decision. But yeah, so basically the gameplay, other than the battle system, you know, it's just standard going through dungeons, going through towns, talking to people. I will say there are, at least from what I've noticed throughout the game, no side quests whatsoever. There's the main quest, and it's very linear. This game, yeah, there's not, other than exploring the towns and a lot of the environments being wide open, but like I said before, in a really confusing way, there's basically no exploration in this game, despite it being this massive adventure. It's very linear, but I don't know, I didn't mind it in the end. So yeah, so when I think about flaws with the game, I don't know, it's weird. I can't really quite think of any. I think all the way through the pacing it's pretty good. Obviously, I said before, there were a few times where I got bored. The story likes to disappear for quite a while at different periods. But I don't know. It's just a really refreshing, charming game all the way through with a really fun battle system and great characters. Despite, I think the flaws overall are the weak story, maybe the linearity of the game, and it doesn't do anything terribly impressive. This game's not going to blow you away. It certainly didn't blow me away, but I'm very glad I did play it, and it's definitely a must-play JRPG. For the $50 for the PS1 version, unless you're a collector, probably not. It's probably only worth like the $10. Well, it's probably worth more than $10, but it's definitely worth it buying it on like the PlayStation Network. But yeah, those are my thoughts on the game. I want to thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.